All right, class, we're going to continue on today looking at this idea of how to solve a system of equations. And we've looked at graphing and we looked at substitution. And so today we're going to look at the idea of the addition or subtraction method. So when solving a system of two equations, you can sometimes add or subtract the equations to get a new equation with one variable. So the idea here is sometimes we're going to get a system of equations that there's no variable alone. There's nobody that's got an understood one as their coefficient. So substitution is going to be really hard to do. So a next method that we can try is the addition or subtraction. Now, here's the key. You want to either add or subtract to be able to eliminate a variable. So we're looking for additive inverses or opposites. If I can look at those equations and I've got the plus minus thing going on and somebody would automatically cancel out, that's what I'm looking for me to use this idea of addition or subtraction. After we eliminate the variable, we solve the equation for the variable that's there, we substitute it back in. Okay, we check our solutions, and once again, our answer is an ordered pair. So, and remember, we've been practicing and doing a good job on making sure that those ordered pairs go in ABC order. So let's see how that's done. Let's go ahead and go to the first slide, and I want you to copy down the equation, and I'll show you what I mean. And I have to say, once most students learn this method, they don't go back to substitution. Okay, so if I look at equation system number one, it says solve by addition or subtraction. So again, there's no variable that's got an understood one, so substitution would be really hard to do here. But look at your x's. Do you see where one is positive and one is negative? That's right. Again, those guys we learned back in chapter 1 are additive inverses of each other. And what happens when I put additive inverses together? They cancel out. So my x's are going to cancel out, and because I'm adding, because they were already minus and plus, we add what's left. So I've got 5y and 13y is 18y. And then I got 45 and 9, and again, they're the same sign. So we're going to go ahead and add them and get 54. Well, I've got to get y alone, so I divide both sides by 18. So y equals, what's 54 divided by 18? 3. Okay, now here's where it gets just a little bit hairy. I've got to take this 3 and plug it back into one of the original equations. Now, it doesn't matter whether you plug it into the top equation or the bottom equation, you'll get the same answer. So I'm going to go ahead. I usually take the one with the lower coefficients or numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug this back into the top one. So we've got negative 3x plus 5 times y, and we just found y was 3, equals 45. Okay, so now let's do the math. Negative 3x 5 times 3 is 15. Again, my floater's 15, so we're going to subtract it to the other side. And so I'm left with negative 3x equals 30. And we all know to get those properties of equality going, we divide both sides by negative 3, so x equals negative 10. So our ordered pair, the x comes first, negative 10, and the y comes second. All right, so the idea here is we're trying to find one of the variables that have the plus and minus thing going on. They are additive inverses of each other, because if they're additive inverses or opposites, then they will cancel out. Now let's look at our second system of equations. Now when I look there, once again, substitution's not an option. I don't have a variable out of those 4 who's got an understood 1. But did you notice I've got negative 5b and negative 5b? Okay, the 5b's are the same. Now the problem is they're both negative. All right, they're both negative. So in order for me to be able to eliminate one of them, I can subtract. because if I subtract, what do we know about subtraction? What's our definition? Add the opposite, that's right. So that means each one of these is going to change signs. And now that I've done that, I've got negative 5b and positive 5b, and they'll cancel out. And so now what do we have left? 3a and negative 7a is negative 4a equals 31 and negative 59 is going to give me a negative number. And I think that's 28. If I divide both sides by negative 4 to get a alone, a equals 7. So now I've got to plug that into the top one or the bottom one. And again, it's up to you. I usually take the one with the lower numbers for easier math. So I'm going to take it and put it back in the top one because I've got 3a, and a is 7, minus 5b equals 31. Well, 3 times 7 is 21 minus 5b equals 31. Yeah, get rid of my floater. We're going to subtract 21 from both sides. Negative 5b equals, what's that going to be, 10? And so b equals negative 2. So once again, my ordered pair, they go in alphabetical order. So a comes first and b comes second. Yeah, so we're just coming up with another method, another angle to look at it, so I can get that ordered pair that satisfies both equations. Now, if I look up here at this problem, okay, some of you might automatically say, fractions, elimination, and I agree. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and do both of those. The other thing I see, did you notice we got 1,6y and 1,6y? Yeah, look, both of them have 1,6y, but once again, they're both negative. I need to subtract these. Okay, if I subtract them, okay, that means I change everybody's sign over here, and now this 1,6y's cancel. 3/4 x and negative 5/4 x. Well, that's negative 2/4. So we're going to make that negative 1/2 x equals, and we've got negative 12 and positive 22, which gives me 10. All right, now, how do I solve for that? How do we get rid of that negative 1/2? Nice. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is negative 2. And again, those guys cancel out and leave me x. And if I multiply that by negative 2, I've got negative 20. And so now I need to plug that back in to one of the originals to find the answer. Again, I'm going to go the one with the smaller fractions. So we've got 3/4. Okay, I'll draw the line. I'm putting it back in the first one. 3/4 x, but x is negative 20. I'm going to go ahead and put that over 1 since we got fractions. Minus 1/6y equals negative 12. Now, did you notice we've got some cross canceling going on here? 4 goes into 4 once, and it goes into that 5 times. So we've got negative 15 minus 1/6y equals negative 12. Yeah, we got to get rid of this negative 15, so we're going to add 15 to both sides. So I'm left with negative 1/6y equals different signs there, so we have to subtract. That's going to be 3. How do I get rid of the negative 1/6? Yeah, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is negative 6. So these guys are going to cancel and give me y, and 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. So what's my ordered pair? Negative 20 is the x, it goes first, and negative 18 is the y. It goes second. All right, now let's see how this is going to apply when we do some story problems as well. Okay, so let's look up here. It says solve using 2 equations and 2 variables. Use the addition or subtraction method. So the sum of 2 numbers is 64. Okay, we know what is means. Twice the smaller number is 10 less than the larger number. Find the numbers. Well, let's see what we've got up here. Now remember, 2 equations and 2 variables. So what are we looking for? Well, on step number 1, we've got to find those 2 numbers. So on step number 2, when we do our let statements, remember we found the labels in the problem. I'm going to let x equal the smaller number, and I'm going to let y equal the larger number. And so now let's see if we can come up with our 2 equations. All right, we've got, if we look at sentence number 1, all right, sentence number 1, that's my first equation. We'd get x plus y means equals 64. Twice the smaller, did you see we have is again? So that's equation number 2. Twice the smaller, 2x, remember x is our smaller when we look at the let statements, is 10 less than the larger number. Ooh, remember here, that order matters with subtraction, so it'd be y minus 10. Now, this one, we could actually use substitution if we wanted, or we could use addition subtraction. Well, in order for addition subtraction to work, I need to kind of move this y over where it belongs. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this above it so you can see what's going on. And if I subtract y to the other side, you get x and y together, we've got 2x minus y equals negative 10. See why that was important? I got the plus minus thing going on with the y's, so they cancel, so I can add what's left. So we've got 3x equals what? 54. And if we divide both sides by 3, what does x equal? X equals 18. Did I do that right? Yeah, x equals 18. Now, we've got to plug it in, one or the other. I'm going to probably go with the first one. We've got x, which is 18, plus y equals 64. And if I subtract 18 from both sides, what does y equal? Y equals 46. Okay, so let's make sure we answer the question. Okay, a smaller number was x, and that was 18. Okay, the larger number, that was y, and it's 46. And then for our check, I'll go ahead and, okay, that's my answer. I'll box it. And if I add those together, guess what we get? We get 64, and that's my check. So again, going forth and doing, let's look at another story problem and see what happens. All right, if I go here, let's look at story problem number 2. It says 3 pizzas and 4 sandwiches cost $34. 3 pizzas and 7 sandwiches cost $41.50. How much does a pizza cost? Okay, so we're looking for how much a pizza costs. All right? Now, a little bit different setup, but we're going to see a lot of these as we go through. But we're still trying to figure out 2 things. We're trying to figure out pizzas and sandwiches. All right, so I'm just going to let P equal pizza. Yep, and I'm going to let S equal sandwiches. And let's see, first sentence, okay, first equation. 3 pizzas and plus 4 sandwiches equals $34. Equation number 2. All right, says 3 pizzas and 7 sandwiches equals $41.50. And we're trying to find pizzas. Well, when I look up here, do you notice one of the variables has the same coefficient? Yeah, we've got 3p and 3p, but they're both positive. So that means I'm going to have to subtract them. And if I subtract them, everybody changes their sign. So now the p's are gone. And 4s and negative 7s is negative, let's see, 3s equals, and if I subtract those two, we get negative, I think it's 750. And if I divide both sides by negative 3, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so each sandwich equals 250. Don't we wish, right? Each sandwich is 250. Now, I got to figure out the cost of the pizza, so I need to plug that in somewhere. So I'm going to plug it in where the lower numbers are. So I've got 3 pizzas plus 4 sandwiches. Sandwiches are 250 equals 34. What's 4 times 250? Yep, that's going to be $10. If I subtract 10 from both sides, I've got 3p equals, what's that going to be? 24. Hey guys, how much does a pizza cost? That's right, pizza cost $8. All right, and somewhere you need to give me a check. All right, somewhere you need to give me a check. All right, great job. I'm going to let you go ahead and start on homework.